Hello, hello, hello to our greatness engineers. I hope you are all doing well today. So, welcome to another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour show. And today I'm bringing you another champion. So, all the way from Europe in Vienna, in Austria. And we're going to focus our conversation on artificial intelligence, but also look at how, it can help into the resilience given everything that we are going through right now and all the disruption that has actually started before we have this health crisis. And as usual, I hope that you have your pen, you have your notebook, and then for you to take notes, because it's about learning today. And later on, when we get out of this platform, it's about implementation for you and sharing, because a lot of your a lot of people are actually asking themselves, how do they survive in this disruption. And I think artificial intelligence is coming really strong on that, because it's one of the technology, and a very important technology that's been developed, and it's powerful. It's a powerful technology as far as disruption is concerned, and for us to navigate this vulnerable and uncertain and volatile world. And today our guest is Cyndi Moyo, and she will help us to understand, how artificial intelligence will help us to navigate this challenging time we are in right now. So let's bring Cyndi. Cyndi is the co-founder of Getwrkdone, which is amazing, when you look at the name. And she helps both entrepreneurs and professionals to connect around a shared vision and help each other to reach their goals collectively. So let's bring Cyndi. She'll get the opportunity to introduce herself and really, get her through, educate us a little bit more about artificial intelligence and how we can use it in everything that we do. So don't go anywhere. Let's start, and let's have a wonderful conversation with Cyndi today.
Memories. But as I got older, I started to be more aware of some of the abusive sides of
So, hello. Welcome, Cyndi, to the Greatness Engineering Hour show. I hope you are doing fantastic in Vienna, and we're really looking forward to have an amazing conversation with you on artificial intelligence and resilience, in a way, how it can help us, given the time that we are in, with all the volatility, the disruption, the uncertainty, and all the emotion that coming out of it. So before we delve deeper into this conversation, can you let us know who is Cyndi and what are the key thing that you do and the key thing that you've done so far to be where you are today.
Hi, Mime. Well, thank you very much for having me on your show today. I'm excited to be talking about the subject because it contains, well, two things that I love really, like technology and how you use it to enhance and to develop other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
So about myself, so yeah, I I studied back in the UK, did my high school and everything, and I was quite fortunate at the time because to get shooed into the side of the sciences, the technology, the STEM subjects, which is kind of interesting in retrospect because I'm always attending events where people ask me like, "Oh, how do we get more female engineers?" But so I was fortunate that my teachers and people around me, like especially my dad, saw my gift and made sure that I went along in the right direction. So yeah, so I studied electronic engineering, and initially I worked in the defense sector, which was actually pretty cool.
I can imagine.
Working on, I mean, I would say critical technology for saving people's lives and also for defending our territory. And then after that, I decided that I wanted to experience something different um, and go to a different country, like just to leave the UK so I could see what else was out there. So I was fortunate that I found an engineering company that were looking to hire people from across the world, and it was a multinational company. And they asked me like, "Oh, wait, where would you like to work?" And my first choice was Germany, because while I was in Germany on a business trip, I'd had like my best steak ever and my best
Wow.
ice cream. And yeah, so I am a foodie, and yeah, so I thought, okay, yeah, this is where I need to be. So they offered me Austria, and I thought, well, I mean, they speak German, it's in Europe, yeah, the same thing. Although I know a lot of Austrians will take fault with that. So that's how I ended up in Austria, working in the energy sector. Which was pretty cool because I worked with like a lot of different teams. Like my last project was about 25 different labs, 18 different institutions across all of Europe. And yeah, we're tackling really hard tech. We're really looking 10 years into the future. Yeah, but I mean, I'd always had the startup itch, the startup bug. And then I eventually made the jump and started my own startup. So I started with Headlow. And what Headlow is to help women to find the perfect hairstyle, because while I have many other technical skills, it's easy to underestimate the difficulty of deciding on the perfect hairstyle for yourself. So yes, that was launched in the UK. And then, interestingly enough, during the entire COVID crisis, while working, I mean, because I also founded Lean In Vienna. And with Lean In, what really spoke to me about it was the idea that, I mean, it was this discrepancy that I'd felt for myself as being a woman in leadership, and how that's sometimes perceived. And I like that, okay, fine, yeah, this is a fantastic way in which we can bring women together, we can talk about it, we can support each other and help each other to actually achieve our goals. And it's especially great for me as the founder, because it means I have to walk the walk instead of just talking it.
Exactly. You have to be the role model if you want people to emulate and follow, you. That's the challenge.
Yeah. Exactly. And some of the key things that I always advocated is, I mean, work is something that you do pretty much for most of your life, and it takes up a large amount of your time. So do what really fits for you, like where possible. And I think that's what also gave me, while I was talking to other people, encouraging other people, I incidentally encouraged myself to quit my job start up. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean that's really fantastic, and and I really admire you challenging yourself, not only being in the technology space and in areas where there's not a lot of women, but also taking the leap in going in a country where that we don't have a lot of young Black women and going and starting something there. And it's really important to understand that sometimes you just have to go and and challenge yourself to be able to position yourself as well later on. And most important thing, really focusing on the fact that you can bring value everywhere. And that's the important fact here. So I'm gonna put a video of you again so that people get to know a little bit more in what extent you've got involved into the STEM space, but also all the things that you are doing. So very good. So for everybody, welcome. Today, our guest is Cyndi Moyo. She's based in Vienna, in Austria, and she is in the technology space. But she's also, like she said, she started she's the regional manager for the Lean In movement that was started by a tech savvy herself. What's her name again? Sheryl Sandberg. So yes, so that's also a key one to put out there. But don't go anywhere. Let's get to know Cyndi a little bit more through own way of viewing herself. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back and really start talking about artificial intelligence in a bit more detail. So we are back with Cyndi. Let's say hello to everybody here. I think we have full house. So we have Liliane. Liliane is tuning in from Switzerland. So welcome Liliane. We have Karen from the US, and she's saying good morning to us. We have Eva from South Africa. And so they're all, looking forward to this conversation on artificial intelligence. So my question, Cyndi, because we hear a lot about artificial intelligence, what is artificial intelligence in a way, because I mean, it's now being used in different contexts. I mean, you talked about the energy sector for yourself and also the cosmetic sector. So what is artificial intelligence for you?
Right. Okay. For me, the state of artificial intelligence, as it states, it's essentially really clever computer code that not only carries out like instructions. Because if you think about the typical computer code, you write your software instructions, and that's what it follows. But with artificial intelligence, it's that ability for the software to make decisions based on particular information that you provided. So if we think about typical applications, like for example, your recommender system, and like if you've ever found yourself lost in the YouTube dark hole, where you start watching one video and before you know it, it's a million others. I mean, that's their recommender system that's taking in all the different pieces of data that you from your interaction with their system, and then ranking that data to make a decision about what to show you, what you're most likely to enjoy. But I mean, the thing about it, I mean, is with human intelligence, it's easy to classify, right? A human can think, can feel, but it's not quite the same with software. And so, I mean, the holy grail of artificial intelligence is to have what they call artificial general intelligence, where it's not just able to do a particular task that you've trained it or that it's been able to learn for, but where it can actually think and reason for itself, like be able to make abstract deductions, much like a human being can. But that's I'd say that's still quite some time away, and so we don't have to worry about the impending doom of artificial intelligence taking over. And so, I mean, that's why it is. So for me, artificial intelligence is really like, clever software or neurons or neural networks that you use to make decisions, or classify things. And practically, that's what it is for me. Yeah.
And I think it's right to, to note that, it's not here to replace the human intelligence, because I think that's the fear that we all get, is that, with all of this and with artificial intelligence building up, we might become as human being obsolete. And especially as far as, jobs and things are concerned, is that are we still going to have our place and be able to work, and have an activity when, all the artificial intelligence is taking over? And that's a key one that's a key question that we all have. So, I mean, how do you see it? Because we're obviously going through, a lot of disruption right now with the pandemic, and then all the economic, all the economy collapsing, in different countries. So how do you see artificial intelligence actually helping us, especially in terms of, recovering, and in terms of resilience as humanity? So what is your thought on that?
Okay, so for me, I mean, I would step back a little bit and tie into the world of work. I think for certain jobs, so I mean, primarily what I would say, repetitive tasks that perhaps don't require creativity and brilliance, I think people would be legitimately concerned about artificial intelligence taking up that space, because those are tasks that we can easily program or teach an artificial intelligence to do. But I think that there is massive opportunity in that. I think if we take away the sort of menial jobs, or maybe some of the repetitive tasks that, I mean, quite frankly, that I don't think anyone really wants to do. I mean, people may vary, but I mean, I personally like tasks that are more on the creative spectrum. So, and I think when it comes, I think it opens up the way for taking away some of these sorts of jobs, but also opening up the space for people to do maybe more things that they love, or to provide more creative input. So I mean, that's how I see. And I think when it comes to resilience, like if I see, I mean, over the lockdown period here in Austria, like it was interesting to see the number of different hackathons that were going on. So, for example, like EU versus virus was a big one for European Union against the virus, and seeing like people come together like in a technical, like in a virtual space, and it's not often that way. These hackathons are normally held in person, but I felt like that really opened up the way for people who may not necessarily speak to each other to start talking to each other and building new opportunities for each other. So, I mean, that's where I see it. And in terms of resilience, I mean, artificial intelligence can certainly help us with maybe some of because, I mean, the good thing about artificial intelligence, it's probably not as, say, emotion prone in the way that human beings are. So as an entrepreneur, I've learned that people don't necessarily make their decisions based on pure logic. There's a lot of emotional factor to it. And so if we think about, like, for example, finances, like the way people spend their money, a large amount of the time, the decision you make is based on your emotion. And I think where artificial intelligence can come in, it can help you as an extension of you, really, to help you to manage other parts of your life. So in finances, figuring out like what you're doing and what you should be doing. I've seen them rolling out AI for, say, businesses to help them in terms of their expenditure and what they already do, because AI, unlike the human being, has the advantage of being able to process a lot of data. So I think that's good. And I think with that opening up, I think it also means that people can start to learn and also improve their own knowledge through like these opportunities that are being offered.
Okay, that's good. So let's go again. I think Lillian has a comment here. To an extent, yes, but emotional intelligence is irreplaceable, and I think that's what Cyndi, you were saying, is that it's not here to replace us. It's and I think I like the last statement that you said, that it's an extension of us, to help us solve, anything that we can't solve, basically any problems where we're stuck and we can't solve. So that's the most important thing. But I mean, you've obviously been, doing a lot in that space, and your recent work was the involvement in the cosmetic and market. So tell us a little bit how, because I didn't connect when you were talking about, the involvement of AI in the cosmetic market. And so tell us a little bit more about, what you did or what you do, and how, artificial intelligence has actually, helped you to solve some of the problems in that market.
Okay, so for me, it helped a very simple problem for me. So in the morning when I wake up and decide what hairstyle do I want, you go on Pinterest, you find a lovely, beautiful model, and you think, oh yeah, that's how I want to look like. And then you go to your hairdresser, your hairstylist, and you're like, make me look like Beyonce. Thing is, because of things like your face shape, the shape of your eyes, your nose, where your lips is, the separation between your eyebrows, this really impacts how the exact same hairstyle looks on like a completely different person, right? And and for me, this was a challenge because I'm not gifted in that way, like to be able to look. Like hairstylists can tell you, like, okay, your face is a bit long, we need something that will shorten, and all of this. And also I found that even just looking online, there's a lot you need to know, like my face shape. And even when it comes to face shape, there's no real standardized way. Like, I watch YouTube video after YouTube video to measure and measure and try to come up with ideas. And so finally, and I thought this was a fantastic application for AI, because what AI can do is we can look at your face. You can actually use math to figure out, so proportions. So if you're thinking about golden pie and which proportions are the most pleasing to your eye, and symmetrical as well. And this kind of math to try to work out like what hairstyles look good. And so really what we're doing at Headlow is using, so using your own facial structure. And then based on like hairstyles you find online, we can tell you whether this will work or not. I mean, admittedly, there are other applications on there where you can like sort of try and place the hairstyle on top, but that's not always quite right, because there's very specific details like your hairline, and that changes how it will fit on you. And so, but with AI, once we classify all these various different points in your face, then we can tell you like, okay, this hairstyle works, but then this is the adjustment you need to make for it to look good on you. And so that's what we're doing.
Okay, all right. So that's important. And can you do this for any industry? I mean, for example, have those use AI to adjust a lot of things, especially when we talk about in philanthropy, for example, understand, okay, this is what's happening in the ground, and this is the solution that we need to provide for for this community, or this this group of people, or this industry. So how do you select really the right the right setting and the right environment to apply AI? Because I suppose you don't have to apply AI all the time.
No, I don't think you need to apply it, but I think when you have certain tasks that require some so different types of decision making. So I mean, AI is good like if you've got visual information that you can teach it or train it to make decisions based on. So that works well, and a lot of businesses actually use it, like for looking at their data to try and draw conclusions that they may not necessarily see themselves. So I mean, I'm not accustomed with the philanthropy space, but I think it would really have to do with the particular application itself. So whether you wanted to recommend things, so recommended systems, that's a massive aspect of say the AI space, whether it's computer vision, and so whether we are identifying people, identifying movements, identifying activities, and what you're doing there, and optimizing it, and you can apply it there. So I mean, I think it's really something that you have to look at a case by case basis.
But what are the key? Because yes, you look at the case by case, but what are the key thing? I mean, is there a process that you follow? You said, okay, I first thing, this is what I look at, 7 steps, and then at the end I can decide, is it good? Is it a right, case to to have AI, or can we just do with human beings and move from it? So is there a particular process or any tools that you use to make this selection or this decision?
Yeah, I mean, I think also it depends on the level of intelligence that's required. So, I mean, I think a key consideration is usually data. Like, do you have the data to start training your AI so that it can start making decisions? Because if you don't have the data, then it's not like a human being that you can teach an abstract concept and then they can just overall apply it, right? So, I mean, I think that's a key consideration. And it has to be, I mean, I would say it's a particular types of decisions that you're looking to make. So, I mean, it depends on what kind of statistical analyses you can run with it, because in some sense, AI is also like really fancy statistics. So it depends on the data and whether you can apply the math to it as well. I mean, I would say for me, that's where it flows in. I mean, and of course, if it is just a rudimentary task that doesn't require that much in terms of, say, learning so that you can classify and quantify, then I'd say you don't even need AI in that type of scenario. But yeah, so I mean, I would really look at it the case by case basis and on the type of data and level of data that you have.
But it's important. I mean, I like that, you actually came up with a few things, which are the data, because sometimes that's the omission that we have, especially when we're not very familiar with what AI is all about, is that, we need to collect data, because at the end of the day, we'll use algorithm, we'll use math to be able to find a solution to a complex problem. So the data are really important, and and I think that's what we needed to know. And the fact that also you mentioned that it's really for a particular type of information and very complex situation, because if it's simple, then we don't actually need it. We can just do with human beings anyway. And that's the most important thing. So there is a question from Karen here. Karen is based in the US, and she's asking, what are some results of using AI on learning platforms? And I don't know if you want to address that, or is it something that you've been familiar with?
I've not actually used AI on, I'm not quite sure what she means, whether it's a platform that learns or whether it's a platform where people are learning things. So, I mean, AI can be good in that, I mean, you can teach it to, say, maybe to assess people's abilities, but maybe in a test type of way, and then help to show you like what things you need to learn. So, I think you can use it in that way if you had a learning platform of sorts. I mean, the only way I can talk about AI, I mean, like, so for example, with Getwrkdone, it's not a specifically, I mean, I wouldn't call it a learning platform, but what we're actually using AI is to, so when our users sign up, we try to understand their problems, but before I go forward, I mean, I'll just say, like, just to give some people some idea of scope. The thing is, with like a human being, you can show them 1 or 2 cats, and they'll generally know what a cat looks like. Even if they see another cat with different colors and different patches, you can still deduce that, okay, that's a cat, or that's probably a cat. But the thing is, with AI, we'd have to show it about 10,000 different images of cats before it can identify like other cats that we might bring to it. So, and really, so I mean, that's a key consideration that we have to keep in mind. And so the issue is usually just around about that data. Like, do we have enough data to get it to understand certain things? So, I mean, if you've got learning platforms and where people are, already using it, and you've got the data, then I think then you can provide certain support. So, I mean, typically you see it used as a coach, where it sees so it can analyze you better. I mean, your behavior better than you do, because people are they tend to overestimate or underestimate what they do. But with AI, can objectively look at what you're doing and then provide you with feedback on things that you can tweak. So, I mean, I think that'll be like one application that you could use for a learning platform.
And I think there's, it's like you said, it's really, about the data, because like you said, we need the data in every simulation, and everything we want to define. You need real data to calibrate anything. And there's another question from Princess. Princess is watching from Johannesburg in South Africa, and she's asking, is there any benefit that have been achieved of using AI? If you have, some example that you've came across, and where, and how it's been done,
Yeah, I mean, where I see the key. The biggest benefit for me is like with AI, you can harness the data that you have and draw conclusions from it. So whether it's, say, for a recommender system, like for example on YouTube. In YouTube, they have like, I guess, millions upon millions of YouTube videos, and you could watch any one of them. But what their recommender system does is it helps to learn what you like, and then recommend that thing, those sort of videos to you. So I think that's one good application. One other application that we talked about was it taking over some of the menial tasks that no one really wants to do. And for me, I'd say that's the other big benefit. And I think also for figuring out new ways or new perspectives of doing things, because AI can also be used to look at data on the whole scale. And so you can actually come up with other ideas of things that you could be doing using AI. So, yeah.
Okay, all right. I hope you got your answer, Princess. Let us know. And so we'll take the opportunity just to have another break, and we'll come back and continue our exciting conversation on AI, because I think a lot of us are learning today, because we've been hearing a lot about AI, but we don't really know what it's all about and what are the key things that we need to be able to start using the technology. So don't go anywhere, and we're gonna have a short break, and we'll be back with Cyndi and continue this conversation.
Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft are all moving ahead at a great speed in improving this artificial intelligence software. So it's very exciting. Software is going to solve that, where it'll look at all the new information and present to you, knowing about your interests, what would be most valuable. So making us more efficient.
We're focusing on what we've talked about on autonomous systems. And we sort of see it as the mother of all AI projects. So autonomy is something that's incredibly exciting for us. We'll see where it takes us.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if someday we got to the point where there were robots every place, they were running farms, they were running Apple, they were running Berkshire Hathaway, and all you had to do was one person could punch a button at the start of every morning, and all the goods and services that we're getting now would be turned out by robots.
It is seeping into our lives in all sorts of ways that we just don't notice. We're just getting better and better at it, and we're seeing that happen in every aspect of our lives, from medicine to transportation to how electricity is distributed. And it promises to create a vastly more productive and efficient economy. And if properly harnessed, can generate enormous prosperity for people, opportunity for people, can cure diseases that we haven't seen before, can make us safer because it eliminates inherent human error in a lot of work.
Artificial intelligence is going to be extremely helpful, and the risk that it gets super smart, that's way out in the future and probably worth talking about. But now what we're seeing is that for the first time, computers can see as well as humans. That's pretty incredible.
NHTSA did a study on Tesla's Autopilot version 1, which is relatively primitive, and found that it was a 45% reduction in highway accidents. And that's despite Autopilot 1 being just version 1. Version 2, I think, will be at least 2 or 3 times better. That's the current version that's running right now. So the rate of improvement is really dramatic. We have to figure out some way to ensure that the advent of digital superintelligence is one which is symbiotic with humanity.
AI is probably the most important thing humanity has ever worked on. I think of it as something more profound than electricity or fire. And anytime you work with technology, you need to learn to harness the benefits and while minimizing the downsides. Stepping back, when you think about a lot of problems in the world today, it's because we typically have a constraint on resources. AI, for the first time, I think over time, offers a different construct. things which are constrained and look like a zero-sum game today may not be so in the future. Take education, for example. It's really difficult to educate people in a cost-effective way. AI may fundamentally change that equation. It may make it possible for us to have clean, cheap, renewable energy for the future. So I think a lot of things will play out in more positive ways than people think.
I think probably by end of next year, self-driving will encompass essentially all modes of driving and be at least 100 to 200% safer than a person by the end of next year. We're talking maybe 18 months from now.
The idea that there's going to be a general AI overlord that subjugates us or kills us all, I think is not something to worry about. I think that is overhyped. First of all, we don't know, we're nowhere close to knowing how to build a general AI, something that could set its own objectives. But second of all, I think it's unlikely that such a thing's first instincts would be to exterminate us. So I'm optimistic about that one, and certainly don't think we need to worry about it today.
So fascinating. We are back with Cyndi. So a lot of, interesting questions, in this video. So do we have to be scared of AI? What do you think? Because, like it was, it was mentioned several times, talking even about extermination of human beings and, all of this. So it's quite scary in a way. So how do you see it, evolving? And what do you think are the key risks and challenges that the implementation of AI will bring, because a lot of people are still scared and very in fear of having AI in their life?
Yeah, I think, we are already on this development trajectory. So there's no going back, and there's no one who is going to stop. Like I mentioned, that holy grail of the AI that can sort of think and reason for itself, kind of like a human does. And I guess from a software perspective can also edit and its own code so that it can become smarter and clever in the way it does things. I think that's the level of AI that people worry about, because once it's not a human entity, so once it's set loose in the internet, goodness knows what it can do. I have to say, for me personally, that's not my fear, because I don't see it in the horizon, and I think even the people that are developing it have some. Just the other year when we were still meeting in person, I attended an AI conference right here in Vienna, and what was really interesting to me was the discussion around the ethics of AI. So I think the concerns need to stop now. We all know those typical examples whereby AI couldn't. So, for example, computer vision applications, they couldn't really identify Black people that well. So, I think there's an issue of inherent bias in AI. That for me is already a more current problem, because the AI is trained by people. People already have biases who aren't aware of those biases, whether they're conscious or unconscious. And that for me is a real issue. And that's why I think we need to have as much diversity as possible. So it's not just one sort of person or people from a particular background that are setting the pace on AI, but we need other voices, and especially Black women as well, to make sure that the concerns of AI also cover like the applications for us. Because I think if we look at our modern society, if we think about buildings, the architecture and all of that, a lot of that was built by men for men, and it makes sense because that's their perspective as well. But and I've seen interesting articles on how certain things might have been different if it was designed with both types of people in mind, so I think that's a much more pressing issue for me, like that, to have more diversity in the people that are bringing up AI. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
As I think the other issue is because sometimes with AI, what it learns, it's kind of like a black box, right? So you don't see what's inside or the exact code about what it's learned about the things that you've been training it. And I think that's where some of the difficulty lies, because if you have people with certain unconscious biases, it'll affect the type of data that you select and how you present that data. And then that will affect what it learns from the data that's coming in. And I think that's why we need that sort of equality in terms of, curating this data and utilizing it for those type of purposes. Yeah. But, yeah. And I mean, I'd say another current concern with AI is the way it's been used in terms of surveillance. I mean, personally, what I don't want is where you have, say, generalized AI, where you're hooking up every computer system to each other, because then, people would have a lot of information on you. And I think that's actually a lot more concerning, because then there's nothing really that you can do, and the nature of privacy would start to erode as well. So, I mean, I'd say those are my more pressing issues right now.
So fantastic. So really, still, a lot of things to look at, and we shouldn't forget that there's, in building all of this, there's always a human element. And, like you said, all those unconscious bias are coming in because it's set up by human, and the interpretation is done by human, so implementation as well. So like you said, there's, it's obvious that we need more diversity in, in this space, so that, things, we can represent the view of everybody, and really make sure that, AI cover all aspects of what's going on in everybody's, not only life, but also in different industries, because they see things from a different point of view. So, I mean, let's have another just very short break, and see, and conclude on this conversation. It's really, there's a lot of insight and a lot of learning as well. And I don't know if, if you have, for everybody, listening or watching, if you have any question, just let us know. We're just going to take a break and then come back to, for the last part of the show. So don't go anywhere. Keep your pens, keep your, your notes, your paper, so that you can, get to, to have the latest from Cyndi, and then we'll come back and conclude on this one. We are back with Cyndi. So our conversation today is focused on AI, and you've been able to to learn so much already. If you are with us in from you've been with us from the beginning, And one question that I have, Cyndi, is you like you said, I mean, the diversity in in technology it's still a long way for there's still a long way to go as far as it's concerned. So as a minority in terms of being a woman, not only but being also a Black woman, so what has been key for you to be able to succeed in that space, and what are the recommendations that you have for women who really want to get involved and get into the technology space as well?
Right. I mean, I think the key thing, the first things first, start by knowing yourself, know what you're good at, know how you learn, and what sort of environment you need, the type of people that you need around you to help you get forward. So really start by making sure you get to know yourself so that you can make sure you're giving yourself ample opportunities. I'd say the second thing, and I mean, this is like one of our biggest topics that lean in, is like just building up that confidence to women to say, hey, just go get what you want, just go grab it, just do it. And I mean, so I would say I think it's really important to have this mentality. Like, I mean, one of the things I try to live by is I mean, there's this quote that says, like, there never was a real catastrophe without the quest for greatness. So if you haven't broken something, or if you haven't failed at something, then clearly you're not trying hard enough. So definitely make some mistakes, and be easy on you. Because the other flip side is when we come to that aspect of self-love, like, and I find like women actually can be like their own harshest critic. And so, actually give yourself a break and know it's okay to get these things wrong. And I think another key thing is to learn how to play the game. Because quite frankly, you are operating in whatever environment you are. There are certain parameters, there's the who's who. So learn how you can play the game in a way that works for you. For me personally, I've always found it important to figure out who's the most influential person. Who do I need to talk to in this scenario? Like, so you don't always have to know everyone. Know who you should know and get to know them. So, take that step, go out, talk to them, learn how to network. And I guess those are like the basic things, really. And once you're there, and just have fun with the work that you're doing. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. And I like all of them, because know yourself, and that's something that we keep repeating on this platform. It's just, it starts with yourself. Nobody's gonna hand it over to you, or nobody's gonna come and become you. It's you. You have to know who you are. You have to know what you want in life, and you have to know where you want to be, the different, establish your goals, and understand how you react to everything around you. So that's the one. And then just jump, like you said, just do it. You're gonna make mistake, that's for sure, but as long as you learn from those mistakes, it's gonna propel you to the next level at any time. So you need to really get and do and try, and then if you fail, try again, or rectify whatever you can do to move forward, and be easy, and understand that it's part of the process, and everybody goes through it. So it's not something that you have to get stuck into, and then learn to play the game. And I think you're right. That's one thing that sometimes we women, we don't, we're not very good at, because we're very emotional, and we get things to the emotion, and we forget sometimes that it's a game, and we need to understand what is the rules, and how we can bring our best on the table to play the game really well, and really get to network as well. And I think I've been guilty of that at a certain point of my career, where you let all the other thing take over, and you don't network, and it doesn't actually help you in your career, because you really need to go, like you said, after the people who are actually important in your industry, network with them and learn from them. And even have them, as sponsors or our mentor to help you to go to the next level. And having fun is, you have to be happy in the process. If you're not happy, then it's not worth it. So really, really important.
Thing I wanted to add to that, I would say it's also like a massive secret to success is find the people that can help you. Because sometimes people think you need to make a dramatic and a drastic change. But sometimes it's just a little tweak. Like maybe you are going in the direction, but maybe you need to go an extra just 1-2 degrees this way, just to really hone it in. And so find the people that can help you to make those little changes that result in big results. Yeah.
So make sure you find the people, which means you have to look for them, because they're not going to come your way. You have to look for them and be clear about what you're looking for and understand what are your gaps, because that's also one of the key thing. Understand what are your gaps. And sometimes even when you don't understand, the fact that you involve somebody else with a different experience, with a different perspective, it actually helps you to identify those gaps and be able to address them. So that's very good. And so we're getting, toward the end of the show here, Cyndi. And one thing that I'm really, looking for, it's, you've been doing all of this, and you keep taking, risk and, trying new things. So what is really the legacy that you're working toward? What really are you looking for, in everything that you are doing? What are your goals and your purpose at the end? Because yes, you're doing all those beautiful things, but what's for the future for you?
Yeah. So for me, I think basically, fundamentally, as an engineer at heart, I love technology, but the main reason why I got into technology was, if I look all the way back to when I was still in high school, when I broke my arm and I couldn't use it. And this is the first time I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually difficult. And for my product design, I designed an eating aid, basically, that you can use to, chop up your food, and also as a fork, and all in one. And I actually got an upright scholarship through that, and really, that sort of kind of helped to set me on the path within engineering. And so for me, I've always loved like really using technology to solve real problems that people have. And I think, but on the grander scheme, I'd really like to change the way the world works to make it more comfortable and livable and enjoyable for people. So if I think about Getwrkdone, what we're really trying to change is the way people work, because it doesn't have to be this stuffy way of 9 to 5 and you have to do this. I think we can we can use technology to supplement work in such a way that it's more humane and people aren't forced to do things that they don't want to do. So so I guess my quest is just to quench my my anger about things that make me furious.
Yes. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful, because it's really bringing positivity into into the world, and that's what it's all about, and it's very, very important. So let's have just the last video on your organization, and we'll conclude on the show. Unfortunately, time flies, and I was really getting comfortable in this conversation, but we'll get the opportunity to continue that offline anyway. So we are back. We are back with Cyndi. Cyndi is one of the co-founder of Getwrkdone. So that's, that was a summary of, the video on their company. And how can people, get in contact with you, Cyndi, if they really want more information on, what we've talked about today, or even, just get help from, Getwrkdone, because I think we all, with the pandemic, we all looking at how, we can change things and adapt to the disruption that we're facing right now.
Yeah. So in terms of Getwrkdone, you can just go on to getwrkdone.com and sign up. I mean, we're still in the beta testing phase where we're making sure the technology works. But I mean, the way it works is you chat with our AI and tell the AI what you're working on, and then we help you figure out who you need to talk to. And that's a massive challenge for us, but we really want to help people to achieve their goals. So not to be constrained by location, not to be constrained by your network, who you know, but really open it up and bring like-minded people that want to work with each other and achieve great things, all on one platform. So I mean, so you can do that for Getwrkdone, but you can follow us on Facebook as well. And you can also get in touch with me on Twitter. So it's at Cyndi Moys. And yeah, I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys about whatever you're working on.
Fantastic. It has been amazing, to have you and to really get, all those information on AI and how it is applied and the different challenges and, opportunity that, AI brings in this volatile, uncertain and disrupted world that we are in. And, we're well into the another industrial revolution. So it's important people start to get the right data and the right knowledge so that they can, embrace what's coming and not, stay scared and in fear of really getting into this new revolution that we're going to. So before we close in, there's a few things happening on my side. So there's the diversity conference, global supplier diversity conference, normally happening live in Atlanta, but obviously with the COVID, it's not going to be possible. So it's going to be virtual this time. It's happening on the 24th of September, and you can grab your complimentary registration by visiting globalsupplierdiversityconference.com. So that's one thing. And as far as I'm also I'm an author, so I've wrote a few books, and there's I'm going to be on my first collaboration book, which is Blueprint from Heaven, and I'm going to be one of the 20s of author, and it's a spiritual book and building on stories in the Bible, and then there are workbooks as part of it. And you can also grab my book, the Stepping into Your Greatness book. It's available on Amazon. So if you really want to know about the leadership system that I've developed based on my own leadership journey, please get a copy. And you're going to learn about the DARE leadership system, which is the Decide, Act, Review, and Expand system that's been developed following, the write-up of this book. So that's the thing. And then there's the magazine. So we started a magazine based on, that's the magazine actually supporting our vision on the Greatness Engineering Hour show. So the magazine is called the Greatness Engineering Magazine, and the first edition was launched on the 23rd of July, which is my birthday. And then we have so it's going to be every 2 months. So we have the next edition coming in October. So that's all on my side. But before we leave, I really want to thank Cyndi for an outstanding conversation today. And Cyndi, I want to ask you: do you have do you want to leave the audience with a particular message, a particular word, that you want us to get back to our own, environment and to our own space. So just let us know. Let us know if you have a last message for the audience.
The last message is, I would encourage everyone to really make sure they utilize the internet as we have it right now. And even especially in these post-COVID times, to discover the opportunities that are there through, the openness of people to network. So definitely take advantage of that. Get your skills up if you need to, but you can still definitely find opportunities and meet people that can help you to transform your life. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So make sure don't get stuck while we're still really confined, in a restricted space. Like Cyndi was saying, make sure you understand how the internet works. If you don't know, or if you already know, try to capitalize and create opportunities for yourself and build up your capability and so that you get ready when things change again, because change is not a new norm for all of us. And when the next change is up, then you're ready to get to the next challenge and still continue to go up to the next level of your greatness. So it has been a very good conversation. And I think there's Eva. Thank you, Mireille and Cyndi. It was very interesting and eye-opening. Thanks, Eva, for tuning in. And thanks to everybody that's been able to be part of this conversation. Don't forget to share to your network for people who've not been able to be here today. And for those watching the replay later on, please don't hesitate to connect with Cyndi if you have a question, or me, and let us know if you need more information or some clarification on certain of the point that we've talked about today. So thank you, Cyndi. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for your knowledge, and really wishing you all the best as you continue to make an impact and making bringing positivity in the world and making change, a positive change in this world. So thank you very much, and take good care of yourself.